Hello, I am Jody Wolf, and you're watching Expoz on October 9, 2012, and it's 16 minutes after midnight, Birmingham, Alabama. Topic: the hour that saved the Muslim world. Gotta hear this. Henry Kissinger rose from the ashes of Hitler's attempt to destroy millions of Jews, and he destroyed nearly 7 million Jews. He killed them. He rose through the ranks of American politics and to the top as advisor to several presidents. Kissinger was also a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, among many other titles for decades in the United States. And he carried a lot of weight. And he was especially powerful during the Nixon years. And Henry made a statement to Israel and to the United States when he was under Richard Nixon. He said, "Let the Jews bleed a little." Why did he say that? No one really knows why he made that comment. But Golda Meir had called upon Henry Kissinger for help. She needed America to help Israel because they were being attacked by the Muslim world. And Kissinger refused. Again, why did he? Keep in mind, there was a growing division of people and nations around the world that oppose Israel, like Iran, for example. And during the time Golda Meir was prime minister, called upon America in their darkest hour that Israel needed help. She was refused by Henry Kissinger. She called again, and this time demanded to speak to Richard Nixon. This call hit pay dirt. Nixon responded immediately, and within an hour American forces were in the air and on the water headed to Israel. But I just learned for the first time there's another twist in this story about Israel and the Arabs that attacked Israel in the early hours of 1973 on Yom Kippur. Israel was caught off guard, which is very surprising because Israel never lets their guard down. But this day they did. And again, the reason is Yom Kippur, because Israel was on the verge of destruction that day in 73, and they had their backs against the wall, and something very bad was going to happen. And what I say now, I never heard, but something had to have happened to make America jump to their feet and full speed ahead to Israel as an ally. But first I want to say this. Henry Kissinger recently, I'm not talking about back then, I'm talking about recently, made a statement that in 10 years there will be no Israel. What made Israel turn into an in-your-face to Israel? Israel has no right to be a nation. It's a very anti-Israel statement. The Bible does say that in the end times the very elect will be deceived, which is what's happening to to many Jews. However, these are not yet the end days. This happened back in 73. But I guess that's considered part of, over 6,000 years. We are nearing the end times. The Bible does say that in the end times the very elect will be deceived, and this appeared to have happened. Now, here are a couple of well-known names that also supports this, and this is very interesting. Do you know these names? Hitler. Hitler killed millions of Jews. Stalin, Russian Stalin, killed hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple of million Jews, and was married 3 times to Jewish women. Over 5 years, Stalin killed 20 million people. Also, claims are that Stalin killed Lenin. Rothschild, international banking with ties, some say that decides who goes to war and who wins wars. Also ties to the Illuminati. Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion only, she's an American traitor. Franklin D. Roosevelt, a great American president. The Rockefellers, founder of Standard Oil, Fortune, and much more. Dwight D. Eisenhower, American president, a good one. Aaron Kosminski, Jack the Ripper. Karl Marx, diehard communist, again in Russia. And then you have Sir Winston Churchill, great man, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Who are these people? They were all Jewish. So, it is said that Nixon sent Israel help according to his mother, and she called him Dick, and she made this statement, whom he loved dearly, told him, "It is the very reason you were born." And this is what I believe. He fulfilled the reason he was born to God that day. But there's another story that some say may have come into play here. That day, again, Yom Kippur, God tells his chosen, no warring, no fighting, no working, no cooking during Yom Kippur. If Israel had not broken this tradition, then Israel would probably not be here today. But on that day, Golda Meir had pulled, now get this, from deep inside hidden mountain bunkers with like 10-foot thick blast doors, and on railroad tracks she pulled out several weapons. 4 of several had been armed and aimed at 4 Muslim countries, and they were going to the 5th weapon, and I think they had either 7 or 8. When she got word America is on the way, had she not gotten that word, within 1 hour, those weapons would have been launched. And guess what they were? They were nuclear. Had America not come to Israel's aid, or had they even mulled over for another hour or so, then it's most likely the Muslim world would have perished. In Yom Kippur, 1973. Jody Wolf, Expoz.